Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and today I am showing you my New York haul. I went all out and yeah, I did save up a little bit of money so I could definitely get everything that I wanted while I was there. It's just, you know, the US is a territory where I have direct access to a lot of brands that I normally don't have access to. I bought some stuff at the drugstore, but most of this is from Sephora actually. And yeah, let me just get straight to it. I haven't used any of it yet. Also something to point out. So let me just start with Target. I definitely went to two different Targets. And to be quite honest, I was a little bit underwhelmed by what they had on offer. And that was mainly due to the fact that everything was very picked over. And that especially in one of the Targets I went to, like there was hardly anything in stock. The second one I went to, it had slightly better stock. It was also bigger, but it had a lot of drugstore brands and I had already shopped at the drugstore, so I didn't want to like overdo it and like get stuff just to get stuff. I did pick up two things by e.l.f. There are other places that carry e.l.f., but some of these products are a little bit harder to find. I picked up the Poreless Putty Primer, which is of course something that a lot of people are raving about, so I can't wait to try that. And then I also picked up the e.l.f. Precision Swirl Foundation Brush. I will not be using this for foundation, but I'm not sure if you can see that, but it has like a little swirl on top and like a little hole in the middle. And I had a brush like this by Real Techniques that I was using for primer, but that fell apart on me. One day I was trying to wash it and like half the brush came out. So that was a bit of a bummer, but yeah, then I spotted already online that e.l.f. was doing something similar, similarly, and that's why I picked that one up. Let's just do drugstore next, because again, I didn't get a whole lot of drugstore stuff, mainly because a lot of the things that they were doing I already have, or it just wasn't anything new to me. I definitely had a couple of things on my wish list. And that was the Wet n Wild Blossom Glow highlighter. I had one Impressions Petals and I really liked the formula, but it was a bit too dark on me. So I decided to go with a shade lighter and it was half off, so that was great. I also picked up some Physicians Formula. I picked up their Healthy Foundation. This is in the shade LN4, I believe, yes. But there just really wasn't a neutral shade further down, and this was on offer, so I thought I could try it. This is supposed to be a very lightweight foundation as well, so I should be able to get away with a darker shade. The US drugstore doesn't have any testers, so this may look a bit dark, but it could be a nice like summertime shade for me as well, so I think I can make it work. And because Physicians Formula was like buy one get one 40% off, I believe, I also picked up the Butter Highlighter in Iridescence. I have the one in Pearl, but this was the one I was actually hoping to get, but at the time it had just been released and it wasn't out yet everywhere, so that's why I decided to pick this one up. It has that like pinky pearly shade to it, which I really enjoy. Next up at the drugstore, the reason I wanted to go to the drugstore is because Maybelline came out with these new, what are these called? Superstay ink crayons. And I got these in two different shades. I'm not sure whether the shade is on here. Oh no, oh there are shades on here. This is this is a darker nude and it's called Live on the Edge. And then I have a darker red called Make It Happen. They also had an offer on CoverGirl, and something that I really wanted to try is their new concealer. This is the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover Concealer. A lot of people are raving about this, and yeah, this is in the shade Porcelain, which seems to be my shade, so that's nice. And I really like CoverGirl foundations. I used one up in the past, the Ready Set Gorgeous, and this is their Outlast Active, and they seem to have similar packaging, so I think they kind of go together. And I picked it up in the shade 805 Ivory. And last but not least, at Rite Aid, they were selling Kokie, and Kokie is a brand that I've heard a lot of YouTubers raving about, so I thought I could give it a whirl. I picked up a concealer by them. This was the lightest shade they were doing. It's called Fair, and as you can see, it's quite a bit darker and more yellow toned than the CoverGirl one, but I think I can make it work. I love trying concealers by brands. They also did liquid lipsticks. This is in the shade Nirvana, which looked like it could be a very nice neutral shade. And then they were doing these like duo eyeshadows. I think it comes with like a cream and a powder. and this is in the shade Deep Sea, which looks like a really stunning deep emerald green. And as you can see, I'm currently really into emerald greens, so that was a very nice match. Then I also went to some makeup-y shops. I went to Ricky's, which was a little bit underwhelming. I had heard a lot of people raving about Ricky's, but a lot of them seem to be going out of business. So one that I went to had like a massive sale on a lot, and a lot of it just wasn't in stock. But they also sell JCat, and I really wanted to try some JCat products. They are most famous for their highlighters, but they're very similar to the MUA highlighters that you can get here in Europe. I decluttered all of those from my collection, so I figured that I didn't need that. So I went with this instead, and this is the Chromatic Pigment in the shade Mirror on the Wall. And there was a tester there, and I swatched it on the back of my hand. It is a loose shadow, which is not my favorite, but this was half off because this store was going out of business, so I paid less than $3 for this. So, and it seems to be a really nice like duochrome-y, really pretty kind of shade. When I was walking around Manhattan, I actually found a store called Riley Rose, and they specialize in like all of these like Instagram famous brands, but they also sold some Besame. This is the only thing I picked up in that entire store. Again, a lot of the items that caught my eye were either out of stock or I felt they were a little bit expensive. So I only bought this because I really wanted to try Besame lipsticks. It used to be carried at Sephora, but it went out of Sephora, and now you can only get it on their website. But their lipsticks are apparently really nice, and they had the Snow White collection there. This is Snow White Red, and this lipstick bullet looks super adorable. And it's the red that Snow White wears in the Disney classic movie, and you know how I feel about red lipstick. And the branding on this, everything is really stunning. And for a lipstick, it was like around the same price as a MAC lipstick, so it really wasn't horribly expensive. I also went to Glossier. Glossier is of course a brand that a lot of people have been raving about, and I was itching to try them, but they're not shipping to the Netherlands, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, that being said, I definitely had a couple of items on their wish list. One of the items on my wish list I didn't end up picking up. It was their cloud paints. None of the shades that they have available when I was swatching them really appealed to me. It was either too brown or too peach, or just, it was all very warm toned. They didn't really seem to have like a really good cool tone neutral, which is in a format like that what I would wear. So I decided against buying that, but I did buy a couple of other things. They just released the Future Dew Oil Serum Hybrid, and I'm not sure whether this is supposed to be like makeup or skincare. It's definitely sort of like in between. They say you can wear this as in for like a very dewy glow without like much of a base, but you can also wear it underneath your base. So I think I'll be planning on using this like either as a serum in the morning underneath my skincare, but I think it's actually also a really nice step to apply before you apply your makeup. So once your skincare has sunk into your skin, apply a bit of this as like a bit of a primer. I think that that can work really well. One thing that was very high on my wish list was their stretch concealer. I bought mine in, what's the shade? G12, which is the lightest shade available. This is what it looks like. It has, how much product do you get in here? You get 4.8 grams of product. It's a very dewy concealer, which I'm very excited for because I like hydration on my under eye, so this could be a very nice under eye concealer. I picked up the Boy Brow in Blonde because that's a product that I was very interested in. Again, I really like my Essence one, but I also want to try some more high-end stuff. I also picked up one of their Generation G lipsticks. I picked it up in the shade Crush. This was another one of those things that I wasn't entirely sure of, but then I swatched Crush and I fell in love. It's like a pinky reddish shade. It's like a really nice sort of like watermelon, and I think that on the lips it may look really nice because it can sort of give you that little bit of like a tint sort of feel to it. And I also picked up their Halo Scope in the shade Quartz. This I was again just like wanting to try, and when I swatched this on the back of my hand, I'm not sure if you can see that, but when I swatched this I was like, ooh, that looks stunning. I'm not a big fan of cream highlighter, I have to say, but this looks like it could be a good one. So that's why I wanted to try that. I If you saw my vlog, then you saw that I did this. I went to the By Beauty Lip Lab, and this is quite possibly the single most expensive item that I purchased during this trip. This was expensive, you guys. This is an expensive experience, but I was like, hey, how often do you get to make your own lipstick? Look at that, it looks really pretty. So I made 2 of these, that's these 2, and this one I got for free, because if you make 2, you get an extra free lipstick. And yeah, it was a really cool experience. I vlogged the experience as well a little bit so you can see how it goes. But the nude, I was definitely like super quick on, like I thought that would take the longest to get that right. I own already a few Bite lipsticks, and Rhubarb, Pepper, and Sake are like my 3 favorite nudes that I own by them. But I feel that in most cases Rhubarb is a bit too dark, Pepper can be a bit too warm, and Sake is actually a little bit too sheer to really do much for me. So I was looking for something like right smack in the middle. So yeah, that's pretty much what I did. So I made a nude, and this is what it looks like. It looks a lot more brown toned in the bullet, but actually on my lips it pulls a little bit more like pinky mauve, which is nice. And the other thing I was looking for was like a really good dark vampy red that isn't too berry, that isn't too dark, and that doesn't pull weird on my lips, because a lot of dark lipsticks do that. So I also got the, like you can also pick the finish and the scent of these. And I do have to say this is really nice hefty packaging, very much more luxurious than regular Bite lipsticks. So for the nude, I went with coconut scent and a like satin formula. And for the red, I went with a matte formula and violet scent, because I couldn't really pick very well what I wanted. I thought I really wanted peppermint, but I just thought it smelled too much like toothpaste. And we ended up with this, like it took like 7 or 8 tries to get this right, because the first like 4 tries pulled very berry on me, and that's the thing I didn't want. I find it very difficult to find darker reds that still look red on me and not too berry. So the solution ended up being adding a little bit of orange in there. And then it was like, I remember putting this last one on and looking at it in the mirror and going like, this is the one. And then as a freebie, look at that with the lips on it. You can definitely tell that you got that then as a extra one. I got this deep plummy shade. There were 4 shades that I could choose from, and this was just the one that appealed to me the most. Moving on to the funnest part of this haul, and that's my Sephora purchases. And I definitely got a little bit of everything because there were just a couple of things on my wish list that I wanted to get. First up, Urban Decay Naked Honey. I definitely didn't buy this the minute it came out. It was like, I'll just buy it when I'm in the US and get some like points for it, and so I can get some more point perks. So that's definitely what I did with the Urban Decay Naked Honey. I think you know what it looks like by now because it's brand new. And as I was in the US, Huda Beauty released her Nude Obsessions palette. So I picked up 2 of these. I picked up Light and Rich, which makes them a bit weird, but the medium one was very warm toned, which is just not my cup of tea. So this is what Light looks like. And then I also picked up the Rich, which is like a deeper color, but these seem to have more of like a berry undertone. And I actually watched someone who had already ordered these from the Huda Beauty website where they launched first. And this is a lot more berry toned. And this may look very dark, but I feel that the Light one has not that much dimension to it. So I would definitely use these shades to complement the other one. And I saw someone do swatches of these, oh, well, all 3 actually. But these 2 palettes overlap a lot with the new nude, like larger palette that Huda Beauty does. And I don't own that because it has like chunky glitters and a cream, which I don't like. These don't have chunky glitters and they don't have creams. And together you still get 18 shades, and it's more affordable than buying the large palette, which I have been umming and ahhing about ever since it was released. So this was like a better deal for me in the end. I had another product on my wish list, and that is the new Fenty Beauty Hydrating, Pro Filter Hydrating Long Wear Foundation. I picked it up in the shade 120. That seemed to be the best match. It's also a neutral undertone foundation. And it was between the Anastasia Luminous Foundation and this one, but I felt both of them on, like I haven't tried them on my face yet, but I felt both of them in the store, and this felt so rich and creamy and luxurious that I went with this one over the Anastasia, because that just, I don't know, once I felt it, it just felt a little bit thin and like something I already own, whereas the Fenty really seems to offer something that I don't have yet. And then this, I talked about this in my new eyeshadow palette releases video, and that I was definitely intrigued and that I would try it out. This is the Pat McGrath Labs Blitz Astral Quad in Nocturnal Nirvana. And Pat McGrath palettes have been on like my radar for quite some time. Everybody's raving about them. But I also mentioned in one of those videos that I hadn't found a color story that really appealed to me. But then I spotted this. Her large palettes are like, I think 12 shades or maybe 10. And like 4 of them are these like special shades. And that looks really nice, but the other shades in the palette are just super boring. I have a million times over in my collection as well. So I found that when she did this with just these special shades, that is definitely something I would be interested in picking up. The gold is really nice. This purple is breathtaking. And this blue and also this green, I'm not sure, it has a shift to it as well. These are super special. The packaging is special. This is a very bougie purchase, but yeah, Pat McGrath is something that I can't get over here, only if I order it from her official website, which means I have to pay for a lot of customs and things like that and shipping. So to finally be able to try the brand, I think is a good thing. Talking about Pat McGrath, I also found this in like the Isle of Death when you walk up to the register. This is a batch of mini Matte Trends lip colors in Elson, Obsessed, and Full Panic. So these are 3 mini lipsticks by Pat McGrath, and it's apparently like, it says here that they're limited edition. It seems to be 3 bright shades, like a bright red and like a bright pink, and something like that's a bit more darker, like a vampire red as well. It just looks like something really nice, and this was like $25, which Pat McGrath lipsticks, like a single one is like $40, so this way, again, I get to try the formula. So the only other eye product that I picked up is the Stila Glitter and Glow in Wanderlust, and it's a really nice sort of like shifty shade. It seems to be more sheer, has more glitter to it, which I like in these. I love my Diamond Dust one that I love as like a topper all over the lid, and this looks like another one that can do that. So that was a bit of a random purchase and was definitely not on the wish list. But speaking of wish list items, I think everything else that I have for you here is wish list stuff. Let's just talk about this. This is the Hourglass Ambient Strobe Lighting Blush in the shade Incandescent Electra. Now, I talked in one of my recent videos about wanting to get the Ghost palette, but when I looked at it in store, I found out there were 2 shades in there that I already owned. One shade that, at least 1 or 2 shades that were too dark for me. One shade that was very similar to a blush I already owned by them. And then the only shade that really appealed to me was this really bright poppy shade in the bottom right corner, but that was very similar to this. So I figured that I wasn't going to pay $80 for a face palette that I probably will never use because I hardly ever use my face palettes. So I went with a single blush instead because I know I will get a lot more use out of that. So that's Incandescent Electra. And then I also bought a new Tarte blush. This is in the shade Natural Beauty. And this is a shade that is not for sale in Europe. I tried finding this when I was in Paris over the summer, but they don't sell it here. Like, it's on the website, I think, but it's not a shade that you can find in store because it's just not in stock. So I decided to look out for it and I picked it up. It's like a really nice sort of like pinky reddish shade. And I hear a lot of people raving about this in terms of like pink red blush. And it's one of my favorite blush shades to wear, especially also in the wintertime. And I think this can be a really nice wintertime shade for me because it has that pinky undertone so that it really looks like flushed just in from the cold, which is what I like about that. Another thing on my wish list was a Ciate blush. This is their Glow to Go Illuminating Blush, and I got it in the shade Matchmaker, which is more of like a neutral one because the Hourglass one I bought was already quite peachy, so I didn't go with the peachy shade. Look at the packaging. packaging. This is the reason why I wanted to own it, the packaging, really. But it also has a really stunning blush shade. It looks stunning. It's a very sort of glowy, more neutral shade, and I sort of picked this over the Glossier one. And then also in the Isle of Death, I found two products that I knew I wanted to look out for if I could see if I could try them, but they're quite expensive if you buy them full size. But they had them as minis at checkout. So I bought the Natasha Denona Diamond and Glow Blush and Highlighting Powder. And this is like a very shimmery number, but I think, look at this, it's so nice and mini. But I think I can just keep this with my blushes, and it has a highlighter and a blush officially, but I think it will also be nice if you sort of swirl your brush into both of these. And I've never tried Natasha Denona cheek product, so I thought I would try that. And then another brand I have never tried was Jouer. And their blush duos is something that a lot of people are currently raving about. And this is their blush bouquet in rose gold, and it comes with marigold and rose petal. And when I first spotted this, I thought it looked a little bit dark, but then I swatched it, and then I was like, ooh, but no, it's like super duper pretty. It comes with a shimmering blush and a more matte blush here. And again, I think I will be swirling these together to get my perfect shade. But these seem to be very nice brightening blush shades. So that's my very first Jouer purchase as well. Despite the fact that I didn't find a lot of products that I was hoping to get that were originally on my wish list, like no Flower Beauty, I didn't even find it. I didn't even encounter Lorac. I didn't encounter, like there were just a couple of brands that I wanted to look out for that I didn't even find. The e.l.f. Earth and Ocean palette I couldn't find anywhere, but I ended up getting a lot of products from my wish list in the end. I hope you enjoyed this very outrageous haul. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you would like to stay tuned and subscribe to my channel because I have more content coming your way. If there's anything here that you would like me to film a video with, then let me know, because I can certainly do that, because I'm now going to take all of these products upstairs so I can start taking pictures, so I can start using everything. I can't wait. So yeah, I really hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Stay tuned. Bye!